Worst parliamentary washout ever. Government-opposition standoff escalates. 146 MPs suspended and counting. India bloc cries anarchy over suspensions. Is Parliament now opposition mukt? That is our top focus on 5 Live.
The war for 2024 has begun and India is now at political boiling point, viewer. This winter session of Parliament is over. It has been a complete washout. It is opposition mukt. Tempers couldn't be higher. An ugly standoff between the Modi government and the opposition will be the defining element and theme on the road to 2024. Well, the Home Minister Amit Shah will be speaking in Parliament very, very shortly. Will that put an end to this ugly face-off, or will it only take things to the next level? I'm Shiv, this is 5 Live. Thanks for being with me. The headlines first. 3 more opposition MPs suspended. Total suspensions now at 146. Lok Sabha adjourned sine die. That means before the time is done. India bloc protests claim murder of democracy. Amid Parliament stalemate, Prime Minister Modi tears into the India alliance, says opposition constantly attacking democracy. The contentious Chief Election Commissioner bill passed in Lok Sabha. Government gets final say on appointment of Chief Poll Officer with a panel of the Prime Minister, Union Minister and Leader of the Opposition. Poll strategist Prashant Kishore speaks exclusively to India today, breaks his silence during the current election season, says Congress must admit to its own failures to ensure the India alliance stands a chance in 2024.
They simply, so long you continue to refuse and live in denial, you're not going to get better results.
Another big setback for the DMK. Stalin Minister K. Ponmudi sentenced to 3 years jail term in illegal assets case. It's a big blow for the corruption issue amidst the India alliance. BJP hits out, says DMK steeped in corruption. A parliamentary session of dubious history is about to end a day in advance. 146 MPs have been suspended throughout this winter session, which was to have ended tomorrow, but it ends today 1 day short. Om Birla, the Lok Sabha Speaker, has said that productivity in this winter session of Parliament stands at 74%. Amidst mass opposition MP suspension, 18 bills have been passed in the Lok Sabha in this session. I want to go straight across to India Today's Polami Saha for more Polami. The Parliament ending 1 day in advance. It's been adjourned sine die. Do we know why this has happened? Why 1 day short, so we can understand that?
Well, basically, as far as the government's listed legislative agenda was concerned, they've completed that legislative agenda in terms of all the crucial bills that they wanted to introduce and then those that they wanted passed in this session of Parliament. So usually Fridays are allotted for private members' bills and such discussions. Other than any legislative agenda, there was no such, agenda per se. So many MPs, obviously those who were still, in Parliament, in the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha attending, said that, they would like to, of course, go back to their constituencies so that, they can hit the ground running as far as the Lok Sabha elections are concerned. And everyone's been talking about how they need to return to their constituencies and start work for Lok Sabha 2024. So because the legislative agenda was virtually completed as far as this winter session of Parliament was concerned, the government, of course, went ahead and decided to adjourn the Lok Sabha, sine die, and after, of course, the vote on the 3 criminal law amendment bills in the Rajya Sabha after the Home Minister's reply. The Rajya Sabha will be adjourned sine die as well.
Okay, sine die as well, and we're going to wait for any updates on that front. Poulomi, continue to stay with me. We've got those figures of 74% productivity in the Lok Sabha during this winter session, which is a very, very low number. Let's take a look now at some of the other data. The number of members of parliament left in the upper house and the Lok Sabha after the biggest ever purge of members of parliament from both houses. Remember, a total of 146 MPs have been suspended in this winter session so far. Well, since it's been adjourned sine die, that's going to be the final number, 146. Mass suspensions in the Rajya Sabha, a total of 245 MPs in the Rajya Sabha. NDA, 109 MPs, opposition, 95 MPs, others are 41 MPs. 46 of the opposition MPs have been suspended. So it's down by a factor of 50%. 95 opposition MPs, 46 have been suspended. Now let's look at the mass suspensions in the Lok Sabha. Total number of MPs is 543, even though that number is actually 522 following many resignations due to the state elections. The NDA has 353 MPs, that includes the BJP. The opposition, including the Congress, has 133, others are 57. The number of suspended opposition MPs, out of 133, 100 MPs have been suspended. That makes a total of 146 MPs, 100 in the Lok Sabha, 46 in the Rajya Sabha, who've been suspended. Here's a total figure of how many MPs have been suspended from both the houses. Like I said, 146 and counting, 100 in the Lok Sabha, 46 in the Rajya Sabha, for alleged unruly behaviour in the lower and the upper house. The Lok Sabha MPs, 100 MPs, opposition MPs have been suspended, 46 have been suspended in the Rajya Sabha. Now we've got some more breaking news coming in. Okay, this is an exclusive news break. First on India today from our sources. After the end of the Lok Sabha session, Prime Minister Modi met Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla and opposition floor leaders in the Speaker's office just moments ago. Parliamentary Affairs Minister Prahlad Joshi of the BJP and Minister of State for Parliamentary Affairs were also present during this meeting. The Prime Minister said that after the breach in security of Parliament on December the 13th, whatever necessary steps and security measures should be taken. So a meeting has taken place. Opposition leaders, the Prime Minister and the Lok Sabha Speaker have just met in Parliament. Poulomi, the Parliament has come to an end in this session. The Prime Minister meeting with Om Birla and the opposition floor leaders. Anything you're picking up from what may have happened in that conversation?
Well, Shiv, this is customary at the end of every session of Parliament. The Prime Minister as the leader of the House and, of course, the Union Parliamentary Affairs Minister Prahlad Joshi, as well as the Minister of State for Parliamentary Affairs, meet with the Lok Sabha Speaker. Floor leaders from the other opposition parties are also present. It's a customary tea that they have, and basically there's very little conversation that happens because it's just a customary ritual. During that time, we do believe that the Prime Minister may have said a few words in terms of assuring those in that meeting for that high tea that indeed the government is very serious and sensitive to what happened in Parliament on December 13 and is taking all measures in order to ensure that security is beefed up in Parliament and nobody feels insecure inside these very premises. Remember, he's been saying this constantly, that this is a very serious issue. It shouldn't be politicized. It shouldn't come down to any sort of political tutu meme. And at the end of the day, they have to realize that this concerns every parliamentarian from whichever hue or color they are inside the premises, and for everyone who is working inside these premises. And that needs to be the topic of conversation as to how do we ensure that everyone's safe and secure and nothing else.
Poulomi, thanks very much for that. Well, Parliament has come to an end, but the stalemate has not ended at all. 3 more opposition MPs, like I said, suspended, taking that record-breaking figure of suspended MPs from 143 yesterday to 146 today. This is politics at boiling point just weeks before the 2024 election cycle. While the India Alliance has hit the streets in protests right through the day today. The BJP has been staging its own protests over the mimicry by Trinamool MP Kalyan Banerjee. It's protest versus protest across the country. Take a look.
जो सदस्य इसके पक्ष में है वो हाँ कहें, जो सदस्य इसके विरोध में वो ना कहें.
A session in Parliament. With opposition benches almost deserted, the Lok Sabha approved a bill aimed at regulating the appointment of top officials in the Election Commission. "146 suspended MLAs from the opposition taking to the streets to protest their expulsion from Parliament, marking the remainder of a frozen winter session. Brandishing placards, the opposition leaders accused the Modi government of undermining democracy.
सरकार ये नहीं चाहती, मोदी जी ये नहीं चाहते और सदन के मुखिया है वो भी नहीं चाहते कि सदन चले.
The India Alliance organized a march around the new Parliament building in New Delhi.
He is giving a speech and 125-30 people are watching it and they are shouting slogans. This is really, this shows that they don't have faith in democracy. They don't want discussion, debate.
The suspended MPs, of them 100 from the Lok Sabha and 46 from the Rajya Sabha, were alleged to have disrupted proceedings while demanding a debate on last week's security breach in Parliament. The opposition coalition has planned another protest on Friday at Delhi's Jantar Mantar.
For last 75 years, if you pick up placards and protest, when have you had 141 suspensions? This is a disgrace it's an insult to Indian democracy, the world's largest. It's a murder of democracy.
In response, the BJP staged its own protest over suspended TMC MP Kalyan Banerjee's mimicry of the Rajya Sabha chair.
उनके अलायंस के कई घटक दलों ने जो उपराष्ट्रपति महोदय का जो एक किसान का बेटा है, ये किसानों का भी अपमान है, उनके समाज का भी अपमान है, संवैधानिक पदों पे बैठे हुए व्यक्तियों का अपमान है और इसका खामियाजा राहुल गांधी को और कांग्रेस को और अलायंस को भुगतना पड़ेगा.
This bitter political standoff has rendered the country's parliament without an opposition presence during the ongoing session, legislating without the usual discussions and deliberations. Bureau Report, India Today.
मेरे विचार में निर्णय हाँ वालों के पक्ष में हुआ.
Politics at boiling point. The war over the legislative bills passed in the Lok Sabha without opposition MPs, because there are simply no opposition MPs left in any numbers. Congress Chief Mallikarjun Kharge, who's also almost the prime ministerial face of the India Alliance, has just spoken at the Congress Working Committee meeting, where Mallikarjun Kharge has said the country is watching how the BJP is strangulating democracy by arbitrarily passing bills without any discussion. He says there is a conspiracy on to convert Parliament into a platform for the ruling party. Let's go straight across to Mausami Singh joining us live on this escalating story. Mausami, Mallikarjun Kharge speaking at the Congress Working Committee meeting, murder of democracy, still the theme that the India Alliance appears to be going forward with. Mallikarjun Kharge, of course, has even bigger responsibilities now, but this standoff in Parliament, this winter session, has become in some ways a rallying point and will define what happens over the next few weeks going into 2024.
Right, Shiv, and this entire row is now spiraling out on the streets and in CWC meetings and India Alliance meetings, and Mallikarjun Kharge there, underlining the line of attack that the Congress party is going to take, even in going to the extent of slamming the chairperson, chairman of Rajya Sabha, saying that people in constitutional posts are undermining the constitution and are indulging in groupism and political one-upmanship, which does not behove their position. So clearly, you know, this is an unrelenting attack on not only the BJP government but also the compromising and the undermining of constitutional posts and organizations.
Mosmi, thanks very much for that. Hopefully we'll get more information from inside that meeting that's still underway in the national capital. Mosmi is reporting from that crucial Congress meeting. Time very short for the opposition as it gets started on the 2024 campaign. Prime Minister Modi's scathing attack, meanwhile, on the opposition happened for the second day running. In an interview to an English daily, Prime Minister Modi tore into the India alliance over the opposition's constant attacks, he said, on democracy and minority discrimination. Attacking the opposition, the Prime Minister stated that the centre's critics are entitled to their opinions and freedom to express them, but the fundamental issue is that the criticism often insults the intelligence of people. These are Prime Minister Modi's words. Allaying fears, Modi denied minority discrimination, asserting that there is a religious micro-minority that's residing in India. Prime Minister Modi's remarks come amidst the opposition's escalating attacks on the Modi-led government. Meanwhile, there's a big churn on the other side of the political aisle, the Indy alliance, the coming together of 28 opposition parties. The rifts, the cracks within Team Indy is only widening with every passing minute. From the Congress to the Trinamool to the Samajwadi Party, the DMK, every party appears to be at loggerheads with the other. Mamata Banerjee's Trinamool is said to have laid down a deadline now. It's reading the Riot Act to the Congress party to finalize its seat-sharing arrangement in West Bengal and elsewhere. The party has also asked the Congress to push a pro-people agenda and not a negativistic anti-Modi vision. Mamata has also, remember, bowled a googly by proposing Priyanka Gandhi's name against Prime Minister Modi in the 2024 polls from Varanasi, and this is said to be without really consulting the Congress party and therefore putting it in a bit of a tricky situation. There are many theorists who believe that Mamata Banerjee has her own agenda in trying to put the Congress party in a spot. Well, slamming the Congress party, JDU and its leaders have snapped at the grand old party, calling it stubborn in public. A JDU leader claimed that the Congress isn't serious about the India alliance and that Nitish Kumar should be the one leading the opposition bloc's charge and not Mallikarjun Kharge. Not just this, there was an apparent rift that we reported yesterday between Nitish Kumar and Stalin yesterday over Hindi language. The BJP has mocked Nitish Kumar and Stalin's Hindi face-off. The party posted a caricature of the Bihar Chief Minister schooling the Tamil Nadu Chief Minister in Hindi.
India alliance is actually bonded by corruption, sharab ka corruption, satta ka corruption, gambling ka corruption and all other forms of corruption. And therefore, if you see Mr. Kejriwal, who's facing serious allegations in sharab ghotala, he is on the run. He does not want to appear in front of ED. Then you see Lalu Prasad Yadav convicted for chara ghotala. Recently, Congress lost elections in Chhattisgarh and Rajasthan because of the corruption they've done there. Rahul Gandhi, Sonia Gandhi facing corruption charges in National Herald, and DMK government, serious charges of corruption are there, and one after the other the ministers are going in jail, just like Aam Aadmi Party. This bond of corruption is the only bond that is there between the India alliance partners. On the one hand, there is mission and vision of Modi ji. On the other hand, India alliance only has commission and corruption.
ये परसों वाली बैठक में आए ही थे इसलिए कि सीट शेयरिंग पर और नेतृत्व पर फैसला होगा, परंतु कांग्रेस के अरियल रवैये के कारण परसों की मीटिंग में चाय बिस्कुट पर मीटिंग समाप्त हो गई, बाकी कुछ नहीं हुआ। सबसे बड़ी बात है कि अगर सीट शेयरिंग नहीं होगी, नेतृत्व का फैसला नहीं होगा, अब दिन बहुत कम बचे हैं। आने वाले दिनों में अगर हम सीट शेयरिंग नहीं कर पाएंगे तो जैसा कि माननीय ममता जी ने और अखिलेश जी ने अल्टीमेटम दिया है कि अगर 31 दिसंबर तक अगर सीट शेयरिंग नहीं होती है तो इन दलों ने अपने रास्ते अलग चुनने का तय किया है। तो ये कांग्रेस को सोचना है कि इंडिया गठबंधन को बचा के रखना है अपने अरियल रवैये को छोड़ना है या फिर क्या करना है।
विपक्ष के गठबंधन में बीएसपी सहित अन्य जो भी पार्टियां शामिल नहीं हैं, बीएसपी सहित अन्य जो भी विपक्षी पार्टियां शामिल नहीं हैं, तो उनके बारे में किसी को भी बेफजूल कोई भी टीका टिप्पणी करना उचित नहीं है। भविष्य में देश व जनहित में कब किसको किसी की भी जरूरत पड़ जाए, ये कुछ भी कहा नहीं जा सकता है। अर्थात फिर ऐसे लोगों को व पार्टियों को भी काफी शर्मिंदगी उठानी पड़े, ये ठीक नहीं है। और इस मामले में खासकर समाजवादी पार्टी इस बात का जीता जागता उदाहरण भी है।
जो इतिहास रहा है बीएसपी का, उन्होंने हमेशा बीजेपी का साथ दिया। खास तौर से जो मुसलमानों के खिलाफ जो कानून पास हुए, खिलाफ से मतलब जिससे मुसलमानों की दिल आजारी हुई हो, उसमें बीएसपी उनके साथ गई। बीएसपी आज भी हमारे साथ नहीं है। बीएसपी ने पहले दिन से कह दिया था हम इंडिया अलायंस में नहीं आएंगे, हम अकेले चुनाव लड़ेंगे। हम तो चाहते थे कि सब साथ लड़ें, लेकिन जब उन्होंने ही नहीं चाहा तो ठीक है भाई, अपने अलग अलग लड़े।
Well, does the India alliance have a chance in 2024? Is the upcoming general election already a done deal, as so many say? Is Mallikarjun Kharge as prime ministerial face the best bet for the opposition brigade? Top poll strategist Prashant Kishore has broken his silence for the first time in this election season. In a blockbuster interview that's already trending and is one of the most watched things today, he speaks to India Today's news director Rahul Kanwal. Here are some key highlights from what he said.
The fourth meeting of the India Alliance happened in New Delhi this week. In the way that the India Alliance is shaping up, where do you see this end up in terms of their hope of having one candidate of the opposition versus one candidate of the BJP in at least 400 seats? Do you see it come together, or do you think this will be all talk, a lot of bluster and very little to show meaningfully in the end?
Well, first of all, this one candidate against BJP is, to my mind, it's a theoretical idea. If you see in almost about 300 odd seats, there is already one candidate against BJP. So what you can achieve is probably additional 100 seats where you can cut down on some parties' vote share by 10, which is getting 10%, 15%, which could add to the advantage to those who are fighting with BJP, but I'm not so sure about it. So this whole idea that any alliance would ensure one candidate against BJP is largely a theoretical idea. Because say in Bengal, in Uttar Pradesh, if suppose in Uttar Pradesh Congress fights alone and Sapa fights alone, Congress gets 4-5% vote. That even if you bring them all both together, nobody knows for sure that that vote gets added. And even if it gets added, the margin of BJP victory in Uttar Pradesh is probably more than that. So I don't see, purely from the mathematical point of view, putting one candidate against BJP is a great idea, or it's something that can be the game changer. Practically, it's already happening in 300 seats, like in all Hindi heartland, most of the Hindi heartland, it is Congress which is taking on directly the BJP. So it's already 1-1. In West Bengal, it's TMC which is taking on BJP. It's already 1-1. In Uttar Pradesh, it is Sapa taking on BJP. Last time even BSP was in alliance. So it was already 1-1. So in Maharashtra, this India alliance is already in alliance together. There, it is going to be 1-1. So purely 1-1 is not going to be the game changer. As far as India alliance is concerned, I don't think this one effort on the part of opposition parties are going to be sufficient enough, at least not what we have seen till date, to defeat BJP. BJP is well ahead, to my mind, as of now. And if India alliance has to do well against BJP, they have to do dramatically something very different, something which probably we have not factored in right now. And also within India alliance, it is primarily the Congress which will be taking on BJP in more than 250 seats. They have to do very well in those 250 seats. If they get the strike rate of 30-40%, then only BJP can be defeated.
No, so what
unless
can be
Congress's
that game changer?
Strike rate against India alliance, I'm telling you, unless Congress's strike rate, forget about India alliance. The end of the day, unless Congress's strike rate vis-a-vis BJP goes above 30%, there is no chance for any alliance against BJP, because it's Congress which is taking on BJP in 250 odd seats. Last time Congress's strike against BJP vis-a-vis BJP is less than 5%. Please take note of this. Whatever MPs Congress has won last time, they have won in Kerala, there was no BJP. They won in Tamil Nadu, they were not fighting BJP. They won in Punjab, there was no BJP. So bulk of the existing Congress MPs have come where Congress was not fighting BJP. So unless game changer is if Congress is able to defeat BJP where they are taking on BJP head on.
One of the ideas that's been thrown up this week is the idea of making Mallikarjun Kharge, the current Congress president, the prime ministerial face of the India alliance. Mamata Banerjee and Arvind Kejriwal have both suggested this idea. Do you see there is some traction there in this attempt to try and stitch the Dalits, the Muslims and some other communities together, depending on which party is in alliance where, but basically by projecting Mallikarjun Kharge as the prime ministerial face to take on Prime Minister Modi?
Well, Rahul, I'm a believer that if you do something right or wrong, it would have some impact. Say when India Alliance called themselves India instead of calling themselves UPA, definitely there has been a chatter, there was a buzz, but they stopped there. Similarly, if they announce a face, whether it is Mr. Kharge or somebody else, definitely it will add some more jing to what they are trying to do. But the irony here is that Mr. Kharge's name was proposed by Ms. Mamata Banerjee and Kejriwal. His own party did not necessarily back the idea. Mr. Kharge is the president of Congress. So if it would have proposed by Mamata Banerjee, Arvind Kejriwal and backed solidly by Congress, then it would have got merit to discuss. I do agree that if Mr. Kharge is made a prime ministerial face on the part of India Alliance, it would definitely add some it would give some advantage to India Alliance because he is a tall leader, senior leader. How much, that I don't know, because he is from South India. And largely the battle with BJP is in North and the Hindi heartland. But definitely, rather than having no face, if you would have a face, it would have an advantage.
Do you have a strategy or at least the outline of what you think could be a potential game changer idea which breathes some life into the moribund Congress?
No, Congress, the strategy, I don't know, I have nobody to suggest them a strategy. The biggest strategy they need to take on table is they have to first accept that they are moribund. The problem is Congress is never ready to accept that fact. Whenever I have dealt with them 2 years back, now I'm no longer dealing with them, but they simply, so long you continue to refuse and live in denial, you're not going to get better results. The problem is not that there is no better strategy to take on BJP. The problem is Congress doesn't want to accept that they are moribund and they need to do things differently. Exactly what I told you in Madhya Pradesh. BJP, despite all their might, they realized that they made mistake in Madhya Pradesh and they made the amends this time. Congress, despite the fact that they are moribund, they continue with the same strategy, same policy, same narrative, same chat, same approach. So obviously they are not going to get any advantage of it. So if I can give one piece of advice, I would say please accept that your organization in the large part of Hindi heartland is all but dead. Unless you accept it, you cannot make corrections.
That is a very important point, that accept that there is a problem because the problem is staring you in the face. It keeps coming back to bite you, and yet the Congress at this moment doesn't seem to want to accept that.
Don't miss that full interview that comes up at 8 p.m. on News Track. This is the first time that Prashant Kishore has spoken in this election cycle. What you've seen is only a very small part of it. That full interview to Rahul is at 8 p.m. Don't miss it. Viewer Justin Trudeau is an apologist for terror. Let me say it again in case I wasn't clear the first time. Justin Trudeau is an apologist for terror. Justin Trudeau and his government in Canada provide a safe haven, state-sponsored protection and taxpayer-funded legal shields to persons proscribed as terrorists by the world's largest democracy, India. The only thing you cannot fault the Canadian Prime Minister for is that he has a sense of humor, clearly, and he keeps reminding us of it, doesn't he? He believes right now, here's the latest from Camp Trudeau, he believes India's much more sober and reasoned response to the United States case for Khalistani terrorist Gurpatwant Pannu reflects a tonal change towards India-Canada relations as well. Well, Mr. Trudeau, this is wishful thinking of the most adolescent kind, very much in keeping with the juvenile manner in which Trudeau has conducted government business when it comes to gangsters and terrorists on Canadian soil. What Prime Minister Trudeau interprets as a tonal shift from India is actually a reminder to him of how differently India views the United States as compared to Canada. Now, diplomacy is a deeply layered issue, and foreign relations have many facets, many angles, and I'm not trying to trivialize foreign relations, but India and Canada have long years of relations. But let's face it, compared to the United States, Canada is a sidelight. It's a nothing burger. It's a second thought. It's vanilla ice cream on a pavement. Trudeau hopes in his private moments that he can conflate India's measured response to the US allegations to include Canada's allegations, but Trudeau is wrong, and we will not let him do that. Because India's stand is still very much the same, that Canada officially interferes in India's internal affairs, protects India-designated terrorists, is hand in glove with organized crime cells in Canada. After India threw out 40 Canadian diplomats in order to achieve consular parity, what kind of tonal shift is Trudeau hallucinating about? It's true, the US case for Gurpatwant Pannu has been received very differently here in India compared to how India reacted to the allegations from Canada. It wasn't expected. It caught India off guard. Let's admit that, but India has responded in keeping with India-US relations. The upward trajectory of relations between the two countries and the deep historic ties between India and the United States. India and Canada have extensive people-to-people ties, but it is a relationship that has been colored by Canada's past leniency towards anti-India terrorists, coincidentally by Trudeau's own father, who was Prime Minister of Canada decades ago. Now, rather than a tonal shift, India has decided to play this issue on the front foot rather than be defensive about something it has no reason to be defensive about. For instance, the Indian Prime Minister has just given an interview to the Financial Times, a paper to which the Biden administration leaked the story of the Gurpatwant Pannu assassination plot case before it was formalized in court. The Indian Prime Minister has not only reiterated India's commitment to investigate all allegations, but lobbed the ball back at the United States to say that violent extremism and terrorism isn't freedom of speech. And he's reminding the world that countries like the United States are legally protecting India-designated terrorists. He also made it a point to remind those hoping to gain from diplomatic friction that the relationship between India and the US shouldn't and couldn't be derailed. Amidst all of this comes Justin Trudeau, and he comes across as a bit of a court jester in my personal view, viewer. A wannabe heavy hitter skulking in the shadow of Canada's vastly more powerful and important neighbor, hoping some of that importance rubs off on him. Sadly, that can't ever happen. While the Biden administration's decision to embarrass India is, in my view, and the view of many others, more about leverage and pressure on India to incline itself away from Russia and more towards Washington, Canada's case is a laugh in the wind. Not only has it blown up in Trudeau's face perceptionally, diplomatically and otherwise, even his own countrymen are laughing at his wishful thinking. Trudeau isn't Biden, Canada isn't the United States, and India isn't the India of old. If Trudeau wants to stake his dignity to learn these basic truths of the new world, then we're going to leave him to it, aren't we? So what is this tonal shift? Justin Trudeau's allegation that there is a tonal shift in India ever since the Gurpatwant Singh Pannu allegations have emerged from the American side. Well, the Canadian Prime Minister has said that he sensed A tonal shift in India-Canada relations, a softening, that's what he says, since the United States warned Delhi about the involvement of an Indian national in an alleged plot to kill the Khalistani terrorist Gurpatwant Singh Pannu, who many now believe could be a CIA asset. Trudeau has stated India cannot bluster its way through the issue now, and also emphasized that Canada does not want to engage in a fight with India right now over this. He also stressed the importance of standing up for people's safety and the rule of law. Standing up for terrorists on Canadian soil is how we should read that. Meanwhile, Hamas, the Palestinian terrorist organization, has also praised and thanked the Canadian government after it vouched for a Gaza ceasefire. Hamas also said that Canada was in the right direction in isolating the fascist Israeli government. That's right. Trudeau just received a pat on the back from Hamas.
I think there is the beginning of an understanding that they can't bluster their way through this, and there is an openness to collaborating in a way that perhaps they were less open before. There's an understanding that maybe just churning out attacks against Canada isn't going to make this problem go away.
So something has changed since that indictment was made public?
I wouldn't say it's changed, but there might be a tonal shift, perhaps.
Despite the United States position, the Hamas movement is watching the growing calls by several Western governments to end the aggression on Gaza. In addition to the other calls worldwide demanding immediate ceasefire in Gaza Strip, the last of which was the statement by Canada, Australia, and New Zealand backing sustainable ceasefire in Gaza. We welcome these developments and consider them in the right direction toward isolation the fascist Israeli government globally and ending the longer ever occupation in our modern.
And the External Affairs Ministry of India has just put out a statement on the arrest of Nikhil Gupta, the man accused of being part of that assassination plot as alleged by the United States. Listen in to what Arindam Bagchi has just said.
Well, as regards US-CIRF, look, you are all aware of their motivated and biased approach towards India. We've seen it a number of times in the past. I would therefore not like to give their comments any particular weight or consideration.
Okay, let's bring in India Today's Gaurav Sawant for more on this. Gaurav, Trudeau's assertion that there is a tonal shift in India-Canada relations appears to be pretty off the mark, given that, any tonal shift has only happened as far as India and the United States is concerned. So why is Trudeau trying to wash his hands in all of this?
So Justin Trudeau actually painted himself in a corner when he made those bizarre allegations that he did without an iota of proof. And there is a huge difference in the case in the United States of America and the case in Canada. In the case of the United States of America, they carried out an investigation. There was an indictment in a court of law. Evidence was shared with India, and India was asked to pursue that bit of investigation and pursue that line of investigation. As far as Canada is concerned, Justin Trudeau just made a very bizarre statement in Parliament and then said we expect India to cooperate with us, and they turned out an Indian diplomat. India, not just in a tit for tat, India turned out a Canadian diplomat and sent back 47 others, so that they said if you want parity, let's have parity. And there's been absolutely no tonal shift as far as India is concerned, because India from day one has been saying, give us evidence, we'll look at it. No evidence has been shared with India. This has been said by the External Affairs Minister. This has been said by the spokesperson in the Ministry of External Affairs. And till date, Canada hasn't shared any evidence on the Nijjar case. On the contrary, India has repeatedly told Canada, take action against terrorists like Nijjar on Canadian soil. Sadly, Canada did not do so, and Justin Trudeau has to explain that.
Well, it's a dream world that he's living in. Gaurav, thank you very much for getting us that input. But it's also a dangerous form of hypocrisy, because after all, the Canadian Prime Minister is the Canadian Prime Minister. He's not some random nobody sitting in Ottawa and making wild allegations. He is the Prime Minister of that country. And while he continues to preach to India with that silly condescension, his absolute hypocrisy is being exposed to the world almost practically every day. A Hindu temple in Canada's Brampton has boosted security after threats and discriminatory comments against an under-construction 55-foot Lord Hanuman statue on its private property. Remember, Brampton is a Khalistani den where Gurudwaras prominently glorify Khalistani sympathizers and terrorists and announce bounties for violence against Indians. Justin Trudeau has so far not acted against these terror sympathizers, calling it freedom of speech, and that's because Khalistanis are a fruitful vote bank for Trudeau and his cynical dispensation. Now, the proposed Hanuman statue has come under hate attack by local racists in Canada. The statue is being installed at the Hindu Sabha Mandir in Brampton. 95% of work on the statue is complete, as you can see in these pictures, and it is scheduled to be revealed or unveiled in April next year to coincide with Hanuman Jayanti.